This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. While many people are looking to the mainstream media for a bomb to drop from North Korea, all this stuff that they keep teasing that is supposed to happen, there are people who are awake, who believe that this depopulation agenda is just going to be our military gunning us down in the streets and all of this stuff that they want you to think about. Meanwhile, their plans are just continuing to move along through silent warfare, through geoengineering, weaponizing weather, and the stuff that we've seen go on in California for the last week, which has just been horrifying to watch. The wildfires over there, the amount of damage that has been done, lives lost, homes burned to the ground. It looks like, if you look at the aerial shots of what's going on out there, now that most of the fires are out, not completely, but if you look at the areas where the fires are out, it looks like somebody dropped an atomic bomb. That's how devastating it looks. Homes are just completely gone. You see piles of ashes. You know, this isn't like when you see a tornado or hurricane come through, you see some of these houses destroyed and flipped over, which is bad enough. This right here looks like an atomic bomb, or the pictures that we always see of the atomic bomb, I should say, and the devastation that's left. Look at this stuff. Look what they have done. If you think for 1 second that all of this happening at the same time isn't part of a plan, we have record hurricanes going on right now. They have already tied the record for most hurricanes in a year. And we have a hurricane, I believe it's called Ophelia, which is now in Ireland. 3 people have been killed. Puerto Rico's been wiped out. The Caribbean's been wiped out. Parts of Florida wiped out. Houston wiped out. And California just going through what people and firefighters are saying, fires like they've never seen before. How fast it spread. How out of control it got. Now, we know that forest fires and those things are real. They're actually natural in some sense because they really do happen in areas, but they're always controlled. They're always prepared. Not something like this where it sweeps through towns and all this stuff happening at the same time. Hurricane here, hurricane there, wildfire here. While the movie Geostorm is being released in theaters, while people are looking on the TV going, oh my goodness, North Korea is going to drop a bomb on us if Donald Trump doesn't shut up. The war's already here. They're using these things against us. They're depopulating through weaponized weather. And of course, you know they're going to blame the wildfires out there on global warming. Because that's part of the plan. That's part of the deception. Not geoengineering, not on the chemtrailing. No, they're going to blame it on, oh boy. And Donald Trump signed that bill saying that global warming's not real. We better get Leonardo DiCaprio back to the United Nations to talk about it more so that the dumbed down masses can believe what he says because he was in Titanic. So it must be real, right? He was on the TV show Growing Pains. So whatever he's saying's got to be real because everybody knows that whatever these celebrities say must be truth, even though their profession is professional liars, because that's what actors are. You pretend to be someone you're not. So a week after several wildfires ignited Northern California, firefighters are making progress toward containing the massive blazes that have killed at least 40 people and burned down over 5,700 structures. On Sunday, diminished winds gave firefighters a break in the weather to gain ground on the rash of fires that have scorched swaths of Northern California, including Sonoma and Napa. Officials voiced cautious optimism over the latest efforts. They're saying overall things are feeling optimistic for us. Though it doesn't look optimistic to me when I look at some of these photos. It looks frightening. But think about how easy it is for them to depopulate and do this stuff this way. Because the common person is never, ever, ever going to think that these fires would be started by our own government, that these hurricanes can be manipulated and controlled by our government, because they've been programmed with terms such as quote unquote Mother Nature. Quotes like, hey, you can't control the weather. Hey, you can't control Mother Nature. People buy into all of this stuff that, well, they can control this and that, but they cannot control the weather. You know, you can watch TV on your toilet now, but you don't think that they have the capabilities to do this stuff? Especially starting wildfires. You don't think that they have the capability of doing that? Spraying it down, lighting a match, it's as simple as that for them. Spreading it. The Sonoma County Sheriff Office has reported that over 217,000 acres have burned. Approximately 75,000 people have been evacuated. Now there's stories of people who are missing as well, who have gone into these FEMA camps and are nowhere to be found. Family members reporting they don't know where they are. This is what we saw with Harvey, with Irma, right? Remember the mindset that most people try to give you. Well, the FEMA camps. Well, with martial law, what it will be like. It'll all be forced. Gun to your head, go to the FEMA camp. Gun to your head, accept martial law. I'm telling you, this is psychological. All of this stuff is psychological. That is why this has happened so fast in the last 100 years or less. Because once they really figured out how the brain works, they figured out how to gain total control of people, how to turn them into mindless zombies, and then how to use fear and these other tactics to get them to want what they want. The total control they want, they're going to tell everyone it's what's in their best interest. And then you have people who are pushing the fear of the war, World War III is upon us. Trump's going to get us killed over there. Meanwhile, look at all this depopulation that's going on. And when you have the elites like Bill Gates, like all of these guys, they've come forward and talked about the population being the biggest problem. Kissinger, Rockefeller, all these scumbags coming forward saying, boy, you know, the big problem that we have is population, global warming and stuff. This is all because of overpopulation. All of this stuff is all a depopulation agenda. They want us gone. And the more technology that they have, the less they need us to be their slaves. They hate us. We're cattle to them. But don't you think they're smart enough to go, hey, you know what? If we just blow up towns, if we just start killing people, then people are going to come against us. But if we convince them that, oh, you know, we couldn't control or manipulate the weather, and we could just wipe out towns that way, spread fires that way, we'll tell you through movies like Geostorm that this is possible, but that's all seed planting. That's all part of how mind control works. They won't ever know that. As hundreds of thousands of acres are just getting wiped out in California. As a coincidental, right at the same time, a record amount of hurricanes has already hit, and it's the first week or second week of October. 10 hurricanes, they've said, have hit so far. You know there'll be an 11th. And this one is shot up to Ireland. You don't think that they have more to do down in Florida? More to do in the Caribbean? Clearly we're targeting Puerto Rico. Clearly we're targeting the Caribbean Islands. Clearly we're targeting Texas. The way that storm just sat there. How that second storm was really supposed to go there. They originally said Irma was heading to Texas and then took a detour up to Florida because maybe they felt people would get too suspicious about this stuff. So while everybody's looking for the boogeyman, everybody's looking out the window for a nuclear attack or tanks to roll down their street, the depopulation agenda is in effect. Silent warfare. What better way to depopulate and wage war on their own people than by doing it silently where nobody would think that they were behind it. Nobody would question any of this stuff. They would just go, oh, it's just the weather. Hey, fires happen. Yeah, they do happen. They do happen. But not at the same time with all this other stuff going on when most of us have been talking about how geoengineering and weaponized weather is the plan, is the goal for this season right now. Because you could see the obvious signs. You could see it through predictive programming with this movie coming out, Geostorm. You could see it just through the constant repetition they're using of storm after storm after storm, and then using trigger words like, hey, it's hurricane season. And then listening to witnesses out there in California, firefighters who've flown in from all around the world to even help contain this, saying they've never, ever in their lives seen a fire like this, never seen a fire spread so fast, never seen such devastation. And then they show you these aerial shots, and it just looks like the same pictures they showed you when we were kids of Hiroshima. Wiped out towns. It's devastating. It really is. Keep these people in your prayers who have been victims out in California. People who have lost loved ones, who have lost their homes, who are stranded, have no food, have nothing, who are forced into these shelters. Pray for them, for their safety, their protection, as well as the people who have been victims of these hurricanes. And remember, when you see this stuff, I understand. I'm a Christian. I get it. God's in control. God does, create the weather and all this stuff. But if you don't think that they have the ability to manipulate it, then you're being naive. Because they've already talked about it. We've already seen it. I mean, we're going back into the 60s where they talked about weaponizing weather with JFK. Where they've used it in Vietnam. You don't think it's easy for them to start a massive forest fire? I mean, they create controlled fires in Sequoia out in California. Those trees have to burn at certain times of the year. They shut down parts of the national parks to burn down those Sequoia trees. I believe they do it because it helps other ones grow, or it helps maintain and keep those Sequoia trees around. You don't think they would create something like this and wipe out towns? Then we'll find out what goes there and what replaces these towns that they're wiping out. And these acres that they're wiping out. And they tell us, oh, the world is so populated, it's such a problem. Drive cross country and tell me that we have a population problem. You could drive for 50 hours, head up the route around South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, Wyoming, drive through those states and tell me we have a population problem. You could drive through those states for 10 to 15 hours and not even see a house. You just see government-owned land. People think it's populated because they have everybody shoved in the same areas. Hey, get to New York City, live the dream. Then you go to New York, you're like, ugh, there's so many people here. Yeah, they jam you in these cities. And then these cities become targets for false flag events and, who knows what else. And what else they have planned in the future. For earthquakes, controlled earthquakes out in the West Coast. So you could see the plan. You could see what's going on. It's really devastating because this is the stuff that's really hard to wake people up to prove that they could have their hand in this type of stuff. And while it all happens at once, right, everybody remains distracted, looking in the wrong direction. Looking to Kim Jong-un and this nonsense with Trump, right? And fire out Harvey Weinstein, throw him into the mix. And these are the stories that people care about. Instead of all these people who are having their lives completely destroyed, who are literally getting killed, their homes are being destroyed, they're being left stranded, and they're being forced into these FEMA camps. So keep these people in your prayers. Hope that people wake up to this stuff and start paying attention to these things, because these are the things that are happening while all these distractions are going on. And these are the things that they can get away with because people just refuse to believe that they have the capability or that they would do this to us. Yeah, you could see all the quotes from all these elites who are, living in coffins in their 90s and still alive, who are saying that there's this huge population problem and, global warming. Oh, it's responsible for the fires. Give me a break. Complete joke. I thank you for listening to today's show. God bless all of you and your families.